From blowing bubbles
Hey, Squidward! Wanna blow some bubbles?
to overpriced patties.
$101 for a Krabby Patty?
With cheese, Mr. Squidward, with cheese.
All perfect examples of how Bikini Bottom's economy is a little wonky. So how much does it cost SpongeBob to live in the most famous pineapple under the sea and still afford tickets to every single Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy flick? And the monthly cost for the average Bikini Bottom resident to get by. Today, I'm gonna put my global economic skills to the test and break down these 6 main categories. Find out once and for all the cost of living in Bikini Bottom. So the first thing we need to do is work out exactly how much the currency is worth, and the best way to do that? By looking at the cost of the most basic necessity in Bikini Bottom.
How much does a Krabby Patty cost?
$2.99.
On Wednesday.
99 cents.
Yep, a Krabby Patty is $2.99. Although Krabs will change the price depending on how much he thinks he can get. Arguably, McDonald's Big Mac is the closest thing to a Krabby Patty on land, which has an average price of $5 after considering all the varying prices in different states. This means the conversion rate is about 67.2% between Bikini Bottom dollars and US dollars. Guess they don't have to deal with inflation under the sea. With this rate in mind, we can also figure out a lot of the other costs that are less clear in the show. So while most prices in places like Bargain Mart are never shown, except clam selling for 15 cents, which is a bargain in my books, you can look at the prices of human world equivalents and work backwards. For example, bran flakes cost $2.60 in Walmart, so the Bikini Bottom version would be around $1.75.
New bran flakes. Bold new taste. Bran flakes.
I also know that a tin of snail food in the episode Party Pooper Pants cost SpongeBob $1.42, which is another reference we can work with. Using our 67.2% conversion rate, that equals roughly $2.11 in US dollars, about the same as a can of dog food on land. So we're in the right ballpark. So what's the average spend on food? Well, let's go with 20 Krabby Patties a month, because honestly, Bikini Bottom basically runs on them. In the SpongeBob movie Sponge Out of Water, the entire town practically falls apart when this happens.
What's wrong, boy? We're out of Krabby Patties!
$2.99 per patty, that's $59.80 a month in Bikini Bottom dollars, or about $88.95 in real-world US currency. Add in 2 tins of Gary's snail food for SpongeBob, which is another $4.22, and combine that with estimates from the USDA's average monthly grocery spend of $300. All in, the average monthly food cost in Bikini Bottom likely sits around 390 BBD or 446 US, with a huge chunk of that going straight into Krabs' safe. Beyond food, though, unless you live under a rock like Patrick, you'll know that housing is one of the biggest costs of just life in general. Despite any actual prices ever being shared, we know what to do. So let's start with SpongeBob. I think it's safe to assume SpongeBob is renting his pineapple under the sea. I mean, he lived in it before he even got a job at the Krusty Krab.
There it is. Finest eating establishment ever established for eating Krusty Krab. With a help wanted sign in the window.
Unless he's literally sponging off his parents, or has been cooking up batches of Krabby Patties to sell on the streets, he probably has a landlord, which is crazy to think about, honestly. So how much would a house with a living room, kitchen, bedroom, and a library go for a month? With an average price of a 1-bedroom house being around $100,000 and an average rental price in the US being around $800, that's about $478 in Bikini Bottom money. Then we need to add the utility prices, excluding the water bill for obvious reasons, which I'd say works out to around $90 BBD. This means everyone's favorite Giggle and Sponge forks out around $568 a month in housing costs, or $949.50 in our own money. Next up is the stingiest creature at the bottom of the sea, Mr. Krabs. While we all know he only truly loves one thing,
Hello, I like money.
he's more than capable of buying his massive anchor-shaped house outright. That said, it's probably more in character for him to spend as little as possible each month by paying rent just to keep more buried in the bank. Now, we haven't seen much of Krabs' home, and for good reason.
And do not step foot into me bedroom.
They've got me private things in there.
But from what we have seen, it's pretty minimalist and a bit run down. It's likely that he has a 3-bedroom place for himself, Pearl, and maybe the occasional occasional guest, or somewhere just to lock the tax auditor away. A house like that in a decent part of Bikini Bottom would likely cost around $3K a month, which converts to roughly $4,460 in US dollars. And knowing Mr. K, he's probably found a way to skimp on that. After all, this is a man who literally takes baths in money. We can't forget about Patrick, who doesn't have a job, and the first time he ever runs into real money, he's doing this.
Coming in, sir.
I'm getting back in line.
So let's just be honest here, he's probably on welfare, don't have to pay a cent. After all, it's just a rock, right? But he does need to pay for electricity to power that TV of his. Patrick's monthly bill is probably around $90 or less, unless he just steals SpongeBob's or Squidward's, which is the more likely answer.
I don't see where you're going with this. Hey, $1.
What about a house that needs to be constantly watertight? Sandy must pay a fortune just to keep that dome of hers livable, between oxygen supply, garden maintenance, maintaining her prized oak tree, and just dome keep up in general.
Here.
Of course there's no water. Nothing but air.
No water.
That ain't a problem, is it?
No water.
Well, come on in. Hey!
Just supplying air alone would not be cheap. A standard scuba tank holds about 80 cubic feet of oxygen, costs around $25 to refill. But Sandy's dome is huge. Putting my scientist hat on and estimating the dome's volume at roughly 10,000 cubic feet, she'd need at least 125 refills per month just to keep breathing. That's over $3,000 a month for oxygen. Brother, we're the frickin' Lorax up in here. Then there's the garden. Maintaining a greenhouse-sized area like hers can run anywhere from $1K to $2K a month. Then we need to factor in temperature control, irrigation, air cycling, keeping her plants healthy, and running her kelp greenhouse.
All you have to do is check this thermometer right here and make sure the temperature is normal.
The oak tree is where she has to hand over a huge chunk of change, which would count as both endangered and exotic under the sea. Professional oak tree care in the real world, covering disease treatment, fertilization, pruning, and root treatment, can cost around $500 to $1,200 per month, depending on the condition and age of the tree. And underwater, that's gotta hike up the pace. So even with a cautious estimate of a property's value at $800,000 US dollars, monthly operational costs alone could hit $7K to $8K, including oxygen, landscaping, and tree care. And that's before powering all her high-tech gizmos. Safe to say, Sandy's dome is one of the most expensive and scientifically advanced places in all of Bikini Bottom.
Over there's my bird bath. And that's my oak tree. It provides me with extra air.
So with rent, $1,000 worth of upkeep, and a power bill that has to be at least $200, it's not crazy to think that her house costs $8,200 a month to run, or $4,904.78 in good old Bikini Bottom bills. Lucky for Sandy, her wealthy bosses, Professor Percy and Dr. Marmalade, also Lord Reginald, fund the entire exhibition. So anything she earns is all hers. But how much does she actually earn making all those nut-related inventions? Well, we'll get to that. But first, we need to work out Squidward's housing costs. Now, we all know he's a guy who prefers to be in his own company most of the time.
Do you think Squidward was trying to tell us something?
Yes, I was!
Which means his house has to be his happy place, if the guy can even be happy at all, that is. For a house built into some ancient tiki relic, which looks like a stately home inside, you'd expect the monthly cost to be pretty steep. I mean, it does win awards.
Squidward will be crowned House Fancy Prince of the Year.
Not bad. So let's say it's worth $500,000 US dollars. His monthly mortgage cost, because you just know he's sensible enough to buy his house, costs around $3,500 in their currency a month, depending on the rate he got. Then throw in utilities, and it's looking closer to $3,590 or $6,002.48 on land. So you might be wondering how these denizens of the deep can afford to live here. Well, let's get right into their income, starting with the richest crab, well, anywhere. Mr. Krabs owns his restaurant and is notoriously stingy, which means he's probably a millionaire.
I feel so alive!
But how much does he earn? Well, if we say that the Krusty Krab sells around 1,000 Krabby Patties a week, which would be on the low side considering the anchovies can destroy hundreds in one sitting.
That smell, a kind of smelly smell. Smelly.
Oh, Mr. Krabs!
those guys get hangry. And that would mean Mr. Krabs makes $11,960 a month without including all the other food he sells. If each Krabby Patty costs 30 cents to make, that's still an $11,660 profit minus another $200 or $300 to utilities to run the place. That still leaves an income that's the equivalent of $18,992.32 a month in US currency. What about paying SpongeBob and Squidward, you may ask? Well, that's not really a factor. In fact, Mr. K is so cheap he's been known to pay SpongeBob and Squidward either a penny, nickel, or dollar a day. That's it.
You want your time back? Take it!
That has to be an exaggeration, right? He probably means like per hour, at least. Otherwise, they just couldn't survive. In US cash, if they're getting the highest rate, $1.67 per hour, and working 6 days a week because
I can't go to work today. Krusty Krab is closed on Sundays.
that works out to $10.02 a day, or about $260.52 a month, or a full month of shifts. Wow, that's crazy. Maybe the theory about SpongeBob's side hustle is actually true. After all, in the episode Big Pink Loser, SpongeBob revealed this.
SpongeBob SquarePants?
That's a funny way to spell my name.
No wonder Mr. Krabs gave him a job. So it's safe to say that those paychecks don't come anywhere close to their housing expenses, let alone the rest to come. So my theory is that they must have to get creative. Maybe Squidward is really just a popular artist and sells his work. Maybe SpongeBob is on Only Sponges or something. Hey, look, I don't... Either way, these two must make up the difference somewhere. Moving on to Sandy, who actually makes a decent living. She's a scientist and inventor at Tree Dome Enterprises. She may even take a few singing gigs on the side.
The ocean's no place for a squirrel. Wish I was in Texas.
Or maybe not, that's okay too. But her contract with her monkey bosses is more than enough to cover everything she needs, especially as it guarantees funding for the rest of her squirrel lifetime.
I'm going to offer you a 20-year contract with a pay rise.
I accept.
Considering that an environmental scientist in the US earns a median average of $76,530, let's just say she's one well-off squirrel. And for Patrick, well, he's unemployed and again, most likely living off Neptune's welfare checks or SpongeBob's money. But it's not like he hasn't tried working, he just can't seem to get the hang of it.
Do I get my award now?
You have to take the tray to the customer.
This is Squidward the cashier. Those moles are huge.
Yeah, I think it's safer to just give him a check so he doesn't cause any more chaos. So what other expenditures do SpongeBob and the gang have to cover? Well, first of all, there's travel, including the boatmobiles. Those lucky enough to have one will have to insure and fuel it, so considering that costs around $500 a month for a boat in real life, it'll be around $299.52 in Bikini Bottom cash. Luckily, SpongeBob doesn't have to worry about boat expenses, as he always has failed miserably to get his license. I think that's a blessing, though. Who's gonna insure a boat that's already at the bottom of the sea? While not strictly used for transport, there's one more vehicle we should look at.
What is it?
The Patty Wagon.
Yep, Mr. Krabs' promotional car. Considering that companies usually pay between $200 and $500 a month in the US for car advertisements, it's a safe bet to say it costs Krabs around $400 US, including the fuel and insurance, or around $239 in BBD. But again, who are we kidding? Can you see Krabs paying for a driver when he has perfectly good idiots to do the job for peanuts? Well, what about those who can't afford a boatmobile? Well, there's always Nat Peterson's bus, which I surmise costs the same as a standard bus ticket in the US, which ranges between $1.25 and $2.75. Not too bad at all, especially for SpongeBob and Patrick for when they're hanging out and trying to find something fun to do.
Oh, bus driver. What? Guess which one is my best friend?
So what's the average travel expenses? Characters like SpongeBob and Patrick likely just take the bus, let's say 10 times a month at $2 a ride, totals $20 BBD, or just under $30 in real world cash. On the other end, someone like Squidward owns a boatmobile, which brings fuel, insurance, and general upkeep into the mix. Around $299.52 BBD. Taking both travel types into account, the average monthly transport cost across the board comes out to $160 BBD, or about $245 USD. And lucky for them, their hobbies cost surprisingly little, if anything. They enjoy jellyfishing, dressing up as their favorite heroes, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, blowing bubbles.
It's a giraffe!
Oh, and they're always ruining Squidward's day too. Though in their defense, that's mostly accidental.
Morning, Squidward. Hi, Squidward.
Leave me alone. Ready to create.
Hey, Squidward, wanna play? Hey, Squidward, wanna play?
One place Patrick and SpongeBob do have to spend money at is the Reef Cinema when watching movies. The lobby of the cinema has everything you'd expect in a land-based one. There's a snack bar selling pop kelp and different candy and soft drinks, restrooms, walls decorated with movie posters. Again, while they never share the ticket price of classic movies such as Prudence and Love or Fisherman 4, Attack of the Hook. Goodbye, Margaret! I assume it's the same $10 range as on land. And throw in another $15 on snacks and Bikini Bottom currency, it's $14.95 per visit. The other places the aquatic creatures of Bikini Bottom enjoy also come with expenses. Take the Salty Spittoon, which is the kind of place where you wipe your feet on the way out and immediately burn your shoes. The prices are never shared. The only one allowed in there are tough fish, so it'd be wise for the owner to keep the prices as low as possible, unless he wants to sleep with the fishes. Wait, that euphemism doesn't work here. Let's say that a dive bar in the US offers beers as low as $3. Safe to assume that it's about the same for the Salty Spittoon. And on the other end of the spectrum,
Goo Lagoon, a stinky mud puddle for you and me. A wonderful stinky mud puddle.
Sounds delightful. Goo Lagoon is a little more welcoming, a relaxing beach spot that everyone has to visit at least once a month. I mean, it's featured in every single season except 5 and 10, so that should show how popular the hot spot is. Over at the Goo Lagoon Pier, there are several rides, such as a Ferris wheel, Teacup Madness, bumper boats, and slide time, just to name a few. There's also a ton of food stands like clamsicles, coral candy, and of course,
a treat like chum. It's perfectly edible, people.
If we say most of the citizens visit the place every weekend to relax and have some fun, spending $50 of their cash each time, I think it's a fair estimate that the average person spends the equivalent of $334.40 US dollars on entertainment, which I'll go on a limb and say that's probably how much the tough guy fish spend at the Salty Spittoon.
Covered with nails, extra motor oil, Salty Spittoon style.
Whether it's watching the latest Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy movie at the Reef, getting roughed up at the Salty Spittoon, or soaking up the sun and brine at Goo Lagoon, most Bikini Bottomites have at least a few hobbies to spend money on, with the average totaling $200.21 BBD, which translates to $334.40 USD a month. Of course, as Mr. Krabs is a tightwad, he probably doesn't spend much, if anything, on entertainment. I mean, this guy will do just about anything to save a nickel.
This could have rolled under there years ago. But, Mr. Krabs, I found that under the grill.
A customer will find it under his bun.
That's just nasty. Now, we've covered all the big ticket stuff, but what about the little things Bikini Bottomites have to pay for? SpongeBob probably has the simplest and most frequent personal expenses. He's broken more jellyfish nets than he's inhaled Krabby Patties, and those nets aren't exactly cheap. Basic butterfly net on land costs around $10, and given how often he ruins them, replacing just 2 a month would run him about $20. Then there's all the bubble soap he burns through trying to perfect his bubble buddy technique. A decent sized bottle of bubble solution goes for about $5, and SpongeBob likely goes through about 2 or 3 a month, so add another $10 to $15.
Hooray! Bubble party!
Let's not forget karate. He trains with Sandy constantly, so we need gear like karate gloves. Now, boxing gloves cost around $30 to $50, and while they don't wear out every month, let's average it to about a $10 monthly cost for replacement or maintenance.
Prepare for my finishing move, the sleeper.
On top of that, SpongeBob is rarely seen out of his iconic white shirt, red tie, and square brown pants combo. Even animated clothes wear out eventually. A basic short sleeve shirt and tie combo runs about $25, and replacement khaki shorts are another $20. If he replaces each part just once every couple months, that's an average of $15 to $20 per month just to keep his look fresh. Altogether, SpongeBob's personal items would likely cost around $55 to $65 a month in Bikini Bottom dollars, or about $82 to $97 in US dollars after conversion. Squidward, on the other hand, has more expensive tastes. He no doubt pays to have his clarinet serviced. I mean, he's a serious musician after all.
Shut your mouth, you mediocre clarinet player.
Mediocre?
Standard clarinet inspection and a tune-up can cost around $60 to $80 in real life, and if he's doing that once a month, that is a solid chunk of change already. Then there's his art. Squidward likely goes through at least 2 canvases and 2 sets of acrylic or oil paints each month. Decent canvas costs around $15 to $20 each, and a good paint set can range anywhere from $25 to $40, especially as it'll have to be waterproof. So right there, he's spending $30 to $40 on canvases and $50 to $80 on paint each month, totaling roughly $90 to $120 for his artistic hobbies alone. And of course, we can't forget the occasional antique or artsy impulse buys, which are likely to push his personal monthly expenses up to around $130, $150 in Bikini Bottom dollars, or $195 to $225 in US. Being a sophisticated squid does not come cheap, especially when you're chasing culture in a town full of idiots. Sandy, being the only actual scientist down there, must spend a fortune on maintaining her oxygen suit and stocking up on acorns and other Texas-approved snacks outside of her basic grocery shopping list.
And so are those! I better start storing these for winter.
Plus, there's all the materials she needs to build her inventions, which I'll guess is close to $250 a month in BBD, although that's subject to a scientific research tax reduction. Despite Mr. Krabs being tighter than a clam's butt, he has been known to splash the cash on one person.
You bought me a boat?
I did? Even if it is against his will. Whether it's paying for Pearl's birthday parties, buying her expensive gifts, the mothfish do get to fly out of his wallet from time to time, while he probably cries himself to sleep afterwards. $1! It's fair to say he pays out at least $500 Bikini Bottom each month to spoil his darling daughter, which works out to $836 in US. And finally, there's Patrick. This one's simple. Snacks, and more. Oh yeah, snacks! Even if we double his food bill, we're still probably underestimating how much ice cream and pizza the dude eats a month. Not to mention...
But wait! And patties are starting to disappear! Look at that little sea star!
So, let's add an extra $100 for Patrick's snack stash. So, whether it's buying jellyfish nets, servicing a clarinet, treating Pearl, or breathing, the average monthly personal expense lands at about 219 BBD or 326 USD. So, with all the main areas covered, how much does it actually cost to live in Bikini Bottom? To find that out, we need to add all the averages together, starting with housing. To get a fair average for this, I only factored in characters who actively pay rent, so that's SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs, and Squidward. Sandy's dome is funded by her employers, and Patrick's rock is a rock. SpongeBob pays about 568 BBD a month, Krabs keeps things tight at 3,000 BBD, and Squidward's award-winning Tiki Head runs him around 3,590 BBD a month. Averaging that out gives a monthly housing cost of roughly 2,386 BBD, or $3,548.16 in good ol' American bills. Combine that with the $390 for food, $160 average travel, $200.21 in entertainment, and $219 in personal expenses, the average cost of living in Bikini Bottom comes out to around $3,169 Bikini Bottom dollars and 21 cents, or about $4,758 US dollars and 36 cents every single month. Click the video on screen for more of my videos, and thanks so much for watching, y'all.